My wife said our daughter needed her real father, so I left for Japan. Then everything collapsed. I never thought a single sentence could erase 10 years of my life. But that's exactly what happened the night my wife looked at me, calm, almost relieved, and said, "I think our daughter needs her real father." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She said it like someone stating a fact they'd accepted long ago. At first, I laughed, not because it was funny, but because my brain refused to process it. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "I am her father." My wife, Emily, didn't answer right away. She stared at the kitchen table, tracing a small crack in the wood with her finger. Our daughter, Lily, was asleep upstairs. 8 years old. My entire world. "I mean her biological father," Emily finally said. "She deserves to know him." The room went silent. I remember hearing the refrigerator hum, the clock ticking, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I'd known Lily wasn't biologically mine. Emily had told me early in our relationship. She was pregnant when we met. "The father was gone," she said. "Didn't want anything to do with the baby." I chose to stay anyway. I signed the papers. I raised Lily. I was there for every nightmare, every fever, every school play. I wasn't her biological father, but I was her dad. "So why now?" I asked. "Why bring this up after 8 years?" Emily swallowed. "Because he contacted me." That's when something cold settled in my chest. She told me his name was Daniel, that he'd moved back to the country, that he'd changed, that he wanted to meet Lily. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. "And what did you tell him?" I asked. She hesitated. I told him we'd talk. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor. "You didn't even ask me?" "I didn't know how," she said. "I knew you'd react like this." "Like what?" I snapped. "Like a father?" She flinched. That's when she said the sentence I still hear in my nightmares. "She needs her real father." I don't remember what I said after that. I don't even remember if I said anything at all. All I know is that something inside me broke. Over the next few weeks, Daniel became a ghost haunting our marriage. Emily started texting more, smiling at her phone, taking walks in the evening. Lily mentioned a nice man who gave her ice cream once, then quickly added, "Mommy said not to tell you." That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried silently so Lily wouldn't hear. I tried to fight it. I suggested therapy. I suggested boundaries. I begged Emily to slow down, to think, to remember who'd been there all these years. But she was already somewhere else. One evening, she said something that finally pushed me over the edge. "Maybe some distance would help," she said carefully. "For all of us." I knew what she meant, so I left. Not because I wanted to, but because staying was killing me. I had an old college friend in Japan, Tokyo, who'd offer me a temporary place months earlier, half as a joke. I sold my car, packed 2 suitcases, wrote Lily a letter I never had the courage to give her. Emily watched me from the doorway as I left. She didn't cry. On the plane, somewhere over the Pacific, I told myself I was doing the right thing. That time would give Emily clarity. That Lily would realize I wasn't replaceable. I was wrong, because while I was learning how to navigate crowded Tokyo streets, eating convenience store dinners alone, and trying to forget the sound of my daughter's laughter, everything back home began to collapse. And I wouldn't find out how bad it was until it was already too late. Japan felt unreal at first. Too clean, too quiet in the wrong places, too loud in others. Tokyo never slept, but I did. Poorly. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. every night, convinced I'd heard Lily calling me. My phone was always face down on the desk, like I was afraid it might judge me for checking it too often. Emily barely texted. At first, it was practical things. Mail arrived. "Lily has a school trip next week. Hope you're settling in." "No, we miss you." "No, she asked about you." That silence hurt more than fighting ever did. 2 weeks in, I finally worked up the courage to call Lily. Emily answered instead. "She's busy right now," she said. "Can I call you back later?" She never did. I told myself not to overthink it. I was in another country, another time zone. Maybe Lily was adjusting. Maybe Emily needed space. But then things started feeling wrong. One night, scrolling aimlessly through social media, I saw a photo Emily had been tagged in. She hadn't posted it herself. It was from a local park near our old house. Lily was there, smiling awkwardly, holding an ice cream cone. Emily stood beside her, and next to them, Daniel. I recognized him immediately, not because I'd ever seen him before, but because I'd imagined him 1,000 times. Taller than me, confident. His arm rested casually on the back of the bench behind Lily, just close enough to feel intentional. The caption read, "Family Day." I couldn't breathe. I messaged Emily right away. "Me, you said we'd talk before he met her again." "Emily, we did talk. Just not the way you wanted." "Me, she looks uncomfortable." "Emily, she's just shy. You're projecting." That word stuck with me. Projecting. As if 8 years of raising a child could be dismissed as insecurity. A few days later, Lily finally called me herself. Her voice sounded smaller. Duddy. That word, daddy, nearly broke me. I asked her about school, about her friends, about Japan. I tried to sound cheerful, normal, and she said something that made my stomach drop. "Mom says Daniel might come to my school play." I froze. "Your what?" "The spring play. He's been practicing lines with me." Lines? For a play I'd helped her rehearse last year. For a stage I'd sat in the front row of every time. "Do you like him?" I asked carefully. There was a pause. Too long for an 8-year-old. "He says he's my real dad," Lily whispered. "Is that true?" I closed my eyes. "No," I said. "He's your biological father. But I'm your dad. I always will be." Another pause. "Mom says you left because you didn't want me anymore." That's when I lost it. I don't remember what I said next. I remember apologizing. Over and over. I remember promising I'd come back soon. That I'd never stopped loving her. When the call ended, my hand was shaking so badly I dropped my phone. I tried calling Emily immediately. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Emily. Not a message. Not a call. An email. She said Lily was confused and that my involvement right now was disruptive. She suggested we limit contact until things stabilized. I stared at the screen, rereading the words until they stopped making sense. Disruptive. Me, the man who stayed. That same day, my friend in Tokyo came home pale. He worked in IT, government contracts. "Hey," he said slowly, "this might sound weird, but did you change your dress recently?" "No," I said. "Why?" He turned his laptop toward me. My old house was listed online. Not for sale, but for rent. Fully furnished. Available immediately. Posted 2 days ago. Emily hadn't said a word. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something told me this wasn't just about a man coming back into their lives. It felt planned. Timed. Like I'd been gently pushed out of a story that was already rewritten without me. And deep down, a thought I didn't want to face began to form. What if me leaving wasn't a mistake? What if it was exactly what they wanted? I stopped calling after that. Not because I didn't want to hear Lily's voice, but because every unanswered ring felt like a door being slammed in my face. Instead, I started watching. Emily's social media was quiet, but Daniel's wasn't. I created a fake account and followed him. He posted often. Too often. Pictures with motivational quotes. Gym selfies. Long captions about second chances and stepping up when it matters. He never mentioned Lily by name, but she was always there. Her shoes in the corner of a photo. Her drawing taped to his fridge. Her reflection in a dark TV screen. I noticed something else too. The apartment he posted from wasn't new. I recognized the furniture. The couch. The coffee table. It was my house. Not like my house. My house. I messaged him. I kept it short. "Me, this is my daughter you're posting. Daniel, she's my blood." You walked away. That sentence made my vision blur. Me, I didn't walk away. I was pushed. Daniel, however you need to frame it. I blocked him before I said something I couldn't take back. A few days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Something told me not to. It was my neighbor, Mrs. Collins. She'd watched Lily when Emily and I worked late. She used to bake her cookies shaped like animals. "You need to come back," she said without greeting. Her voice was shaking. "What's going on?" I asked. There was a pause. Then, quietly, "They changed the locks." My heart dropped. "Emily said you moved out permanently," she continued. "She told people you abandoned them. That Daniel stepped in because Lily needed stability." "That's not true," I said. "I know," Mrs. Collins said. "That's why I'm calling." She told me she'd seen movers. Not just moving things in, but taking things out. Boxes of paperwork. Photo albums. My things. The little one cried that day, she added. She asked me why her daddy wasn't in the pictures anymore. I hung up and sat on the floor. For the first time since arriving in Japan, I felt real anger. Not sadness. Not confusion. Anger. I contacted a lawyer back home. It wasn't easy from overseas, but I managed. I explained everything. The marriage. The child. The move. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Did you ever formally adopt Lily? The lawyer asked. Yes, I said. Right after she was born. And your name is on the birth certificate? Yes. Then she can't just erase you, he said. Unless. Unless what? Unless there's something you're not telling me. There wasn't. At least, I didn't think there was. A week later, the lawyer called me back. His tone was different. Something strange came up, he said. There's a filing from 3 years ago. A petition. For what? To challenge paternity. My chest tightened. It was withdrawn, he continued. No action taken, but it was filed under Daniel's name. Emily had never told me. 3 years ago, Lily would have been 5. The year she'd started calling me Dad instead of my name. The year Emily had suddenly become distant for a while. I felt sick. She planned this, I whispered. Possibly, the lawyer said carefully. Or she was pressured. That night, I got an email from Emily. Just one sentence. We need to talk. No apology. No explanation. Just those 4 words. I replied immediately. When? She didn't answer. Instead, an hour later, Daniel posted a new photo. Lily, asleep on the couch, her head resting on his shoulder. The caption read, "Some bonds can't be replaced." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Then I booked a flight. Because whatever story they were telling without me, I was done being silent in it. The flight home felt longer than the one that took me away. Not because of the distance, but because every hour in the air gave my mind more time to replay every mistake I thought I'd made. Every moment I should have fought harder. Every sign I ignored because I trusted the woman I loved. When I landed, I didn't go to the house. I went to a hotel. I needed a plan. I needed proof. And most of all, I needed to see Emily face to face, without Lily around, without Daniel hovering in the background like a shadow. I texted Emily my arrival time. She replied within seconds. Come alone. That message said more than she probably realized. We met at a cafe halfway between the hotel and our old neighborhood, a place we used to go on Sundays. She was already there when I arrived, sitting stiffly, hands wrapped around a cup she hadn't touched. She looked thinner, older, not guilty, just tired. You shouldn't have come back like this, she said before I even sat down. I didn't leave like this either, I replied. She sighed, rubbing her temples. You made things complicated. I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. I made them complicated? You let another man move into my house and tell my daughter I abandoned her. She needed stability, Emily snapped. You ran to another country. I left because you told me I wasn't a real father. Silence. People chatted around us, unaware that a family was unraveling at the corner table. Emily finally looked up at me. Daniel is suing for custody. The words hit me like a physical blow. He what? He filed last week, she said quietly. Full custody. He claims you're emotionally unstable and unfit. And you're okay with that? Her eyes filled with tears for the first time since I'd returned. I don't know what I'm okay with anymore. That's when I noticed her hands shaking. Why now? I asked softly. Why after all these years? She hesitated. Then she said something I wasn't prepared for. He has leverage. My stomach tightened. What kind of leverage? She leaned closer, lowering her voice. 3 years ago, Daniel found me. He said he wanted to be involved. I said no. Then he showed me documents. What documents? She swallowed. Medical records. From Lily's birth. My heart started racing. What about them? There was a complication, Emily said. Something minor. Or so I thought. But Daniel claims the hospital made a mistake. That the adoption paperwork was filed incorrectly. That legally, you might not be your father. That's impossible, I said. We went through lawyers. That's what I thought, Emily whispered. But he hired his own. He said if I didn't cooperate, he'd expose everything and take her anyway. Expose what? I demanded. Emily looked away. Emily. I lied, she said. About when I found out I was pregnant. The cafe seemed to fade into background noise. What do you mean? She wasn't 8 weeks along when we met, Emily said. She was almost 16. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. You knew the whole time, I said slowly. I was scared, she cried. I loved you. I didn't want to lose you. I stood up. So you built a family on a lie. I built it on love, she snapped back. You were a good father. The best. I repeated. Emily reached for my hand, but I pulled away. You let him poison her against me, I said. You let her believe I abandoned her. I was trying to protect her, Emily said. From a war. Well, congratulations, I said coldly. You started one. As I turned to leave, she said one last thing. There's more, she said. Something Daniel hasn't told you yet. I stopped. He doesn't just want custody, Emily whispered. He wants something else. I turned back. What? She met my eyes. He wants you gone. Permanently. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's face in that photo, her head resting on Daniel's shoulder, trusting, unaware of the battle being fought over her like she was property. In the morning, my lawyer called. I need you to sit down, he said. I'm already sitting, I replied. That would be wise. He explained that Daniel wasn't just pursuing custody. He was challenging the adoption retroactively, claiming fraud. According to him, Emily had knowingly provided false information during the adoption process, information that directly affected my legal status as Lily's father. And what does that mean? I asked. If the court believes him, the lawyer said carefully, your parental rights could be terminated. Terminated? Like a contract. What about Emily? I asked. She's cooperating, he said. For now. The line went quiet. There's something else, he added. Daniel's lawyer filed an emergency motion. They're requesting a psychological evaluation. Of who? You. I laughed. On what grounds? Emotional abandonment, he said. Sudden relocation. Obsessive behavior. Instability. Every word felt calculated. I left because my wife told me I wasn't her real father, I said. Any judge with a heart would understand that. My lawyer hesitated. Judges don't rule with hearts, he said. They rule with narratives. And right now, Daniel has a very clean one. After the call, I drove past the house. I didn't stop, but I slowed down enough to see Lily's bike in the driveway. The one I'd taught her to ride. The one with the crooked bell she refused to replace because she said it sounded happy. The front door opened. Daniel stepped out. He saw my car. We locked eyes. He smiled. Later that afternoon, I got an email from Daniel's lawyer. Polite. Professional. Cold. They proposed a voluntary withdrawal from Lily's life. In exchange, they dropped the fraud accusation. No court. No scandal. No damage to Lily. At the bottom of the email, one line stood out. This would allow all parties to move on peacefully. Peacefully. Like erasing a man from a child's life was a favor. That evening, Mrs. Collins knocked on my hotel room door. I hadn't told her where I was staying. I was worried, she said, and I found something. She handed me a manila envelope. Inside were copies of documents she'd pulled from my old mailbox before the locks were changed. Letters addressed to Emily. From banks. From collection agencies. And one from a company I didn't recognize. A private investigation firm. The date was 6 months before I left. They came asking questions, Mrs. Collins said quietly. About you. About your work. About Lily. My blood ran cold. Daniel hadn't just come back into their lives. He'd prepared. That night, I searched his name more deeply than ever before. What I found made my hand shake. He'd changed his last name 2 years ago. Before that, he'd been involved in a financial scandal. A failed startup. Missing funds. An out-of-court settlement that sealed the records. And one more thing. He was drowning in debt. More debt than custody alone could fix. That's when it clicked. Lily wasn't the prize. She was leverage. And if I stayed in the picture, I was a problem that needed to disappear. I couldn't stay in Tokyo any longer. Every street I walked felt like a countdown. Every sound, every chatter, every whore of a taxi was a warning I couldn't place. I booked the earliest flight home. By the time I landed, the city was dark. The streets familiar and alien at the same time. I felt like a stranger in my own life. I went straight to Lily's school. Not to see her, just to watch. I waited across the street, hidden in the shadows. Daniel was there, waiting, smiling. He waved at the teachers as if he owned the place. My daughter ran toward him, arms open, laughing. The sight made my chest tighten. But more than sadness, I felt fear, because I understood something I hadn't fully realized until that moment. Daniel wasn't just trying to take Lily legally. He was trying to control her, to manipulate her, to make me powerless. I tried calling Emily again. No answer. Texts went unanswered. My calls went straight to voicemail. That's when a letter arrived at my hotel. No return address. It contained 3 sentences. Stop coming back. Stop calling. Stop existing in her life. No signature. But I knew. The next day, I tried to meet with my lawyer in person. He looked pale, nervous. "They're serious," he said. "Daniel's moving fast. There's evidence suggesting he's prepared to go beyond the court. You need to be careful." "Careful how?" I asked. "Security cameras, GPS, monitoring," he said. "He's watching you already." I felt my stomach drop. The air seemed heavier. That night, I tried to call Lily. She picked up. Her voice was quiet, almost hesitant. "Daddy," she whispered. "Hey, baby," I said softly. "I'm here. I miss you," she said, then paused. "Mommy said you might not come back. That maybe I should listen to him." Daniel's influence had already started, slowly, subtly, poisoning my daughter against me. I felt rage like I'd never known, but also clarity. I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't hide. I had to fight, not just for Lily, but for the truth. I spent the next days preparing. I gathered documents, messages, and proof of my relationship with Lily. Every photo, every doctor's note, every school record. Then I realized something horrifying. Even with all the proof, the court could still rule against me. Daniel had money, influence, connections, and now leverage. I wasn't just fighting for custody. I was fighting for survival. Because if I failed, I could lose Lily forever. And worse, I could lose myself. I didn't wait for the court date. I needed answers faster. One evening, I returned to my old neighborhood under the cover of night. The streets smelled of rain and asphalt like nothing had changed, but everything had. I slipped past the new locks Daniel's movers had installed and found a side window partially open. I crawled inside. The house was quiet, too quiet. I heard muffled voices upstairs. "Lily, Daniel, Emily." I froze. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. "Daddy, doesn't matter," Daniel said softly, almost sweetly. "You'll see. He's gone." And Lily replied, trembling. I don't know. I wanted to burst in, to yell, to grab her and leave. But a small voice in my ear stopped me. "Wait." It was Mrs. Collins. She had followed me, unnoticed. "Let me handle this," she whispered. Together, we crept closer to the stairs. I watched as Daniel leaned closer, whispering, manipulating. Emily stood silently, looking helpless, like a prisoner in her own home. I wanted to charge in, but Mrs. Collins shook her head. She had a plan. She took out her phone and started recording. Not video, audio. Enough to capture Daniel's words, his threats, his manipulation. Enough to prove the court that he was intentionally undermining my relationship with Lily. After what felt like an eternity, Daniel left the room. Emily followed him. Lily remained, confused and scared. I stepped forward slowly. "Lily," I whispered. She turned. Her eyes widened. Recognition. Relief. "Daddy," she cried, running into my arms. I held her tight, careful not to shake her too violently. She was smaller than I remembered, but her heart still belonged to me. "Shoo," I whispered. "It's okay. I'm here." We stayed like that for a few minutes, until Mrs. Collins nudged me. "We need to go," she said quietly. "Before they notice." I nodded. We left the house the way we came, quietly, carefully, shadows among shadows. Back at the hotel, I played the recording. Daniel's voice was there. Clear, cold, calculated. "We'll see if he fights. And if he does, we'll make him disappear." I froze. Disappear. I realized then that this wasn't just about custody. Daniel wasn't just trying to take Lily from me. He was trying to remove me entirely. But now I had leverage too. I had proof. I had witnesses. And I had my daughter. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. But it was fragile, because I also realized something terrifying. Daniel knew I was back, and if he was willing to threaten my life, there was no turning back. The next morning, I woke to a message from Emily. "Lily is scared. Please don't do anything reckless." Her words were polite, careful, but I could feel the tension beneath each letter. She was warning me, or maybe warning herself. I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I rented a car and drove to the old neighborhood again. Not to sneak in this time, but to confront Daniel directly. I needed to see him to understand the scope of what I was up against. The house looked different in daylight. Clean, ordered, perfect, too perfect, like a photograph stage for a magazine. I walked up to the door. Daniel opened it immediately, as if he had been expecting me. "Hello," he said smoothly. "Back so soon. You need to leave Lily alone," I said, keeping my voice calm. "This ends now." He smirked. "I don't think you understand the situation." "I understand perfectly," I said. "You're not her father. You have no legal right. And threatening me isn't going to change that." He laughed softly. "Legal rights are one thing. Influence, leverage, that's another." I froze. That word, leverage, sent a shiver down my spine. "What do you mean?" I asked. Daniel leaned back, crossing his arms. "You remember the startup I had?" My mind raced. The failed company. The missing funds. "That's right," he said. "I made a lot of enemies. Dangerous ones. People who don't care about court orders or custody battles. People who care about money, power, and revenge." My stomach tightened. "You're dragging Lily into this," I said. "That's insane." "Insane," he laughed. "I'm doing what I have to. You see, if I can secure custody, I gain access to certain accounts, contracts, and, well, resources that were previously blocked. And if I play my cards right, I can erase the past entirely." I realized then he wasn't just trying to take Lily. He was using her to fix his mistakes, to reclaim what he lost, to manipulate my family and my life. I tried to speak, but he interrupted. "You don't understand how dangerous it can get if I fail," Daniel said, stepping closer. "You, or Emily, or Lily, anyone in the way." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "You're threatening me." "Merely stating the truth," he said. At that moment, Emily appeared in the doorway behind him. Her eyes were wide, pleading. "Stop it," she said softly. "Please, don't scare him." Daniel ignored her. I realized then that Emily had been trapped too. Controlled, manipulated, afraid. I stepped forward, lowering my voice. "Daniel, whatever leverage you think you have, it ends now. I'm not leaving Lily." He tilted his head, smiling. "Oh, I think it's just beginning." That night, I stayed in my car across the street, watching the house. Lily appeared at the window. She didn't see me, but I saw her. My little girl. My responsibility. My heart. Then, out of nowhere, a shadow moved behind Daniel. A man I didn't recognize, tall, silent. He stepped into the street and watched me. My blood ran cold. Daniel hadn't come alone. He had allies. Dangerous ones. People willing to cross lines I hadn't even imagined. I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about custody. It wasn't just about family. It was war, and I was already in the crosshairs. I couldn't call the police. Not yet. Daniel's reach was too wide. Any wrong move could put Lily in danger. I had to act smart, careful, calculated, and I had to find an ally I could trust, someone who could help me expose Daniel before he used my family as collateral. But who could I trust? Even Emily's loyalty seemed fragile now. The next morning, I received an anonymous message on my burner phone. "Meet me at the old pier. Midnight. Alone. If you want to protect her, you'll come." No signature. No hint of who it was. I stared at the message, my heart racing. It could be a trap. It could be a friend. It could be someone worse. But I had no choice. If I want to save Lily, I had to take the risk. Midnight at the old pier was silent, except for the gentle lapping of water against the wooden posts. Mist hovered over the surface, making the place feel like it existed out of time. I waited in the shadows, heart pounding, every sense alert. Every step behind me sounded like a gunshot in the quiet night. A figure emerged, tall, thin, wearing a hood that hid his face. "You came," he said, low, gravelly voice. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Why should I trust you?" He stepped closer, lowering his hood slightly. I could see his eyes, sharp, cautious. Call me Simon. I've been watching Daniel for months. I froze. Why? Who are you? I used to work for him, Simon said. Before he changed. Before he became dangerous. My stomach tightened. Why are you helping me? He shook his head. Because he doesn't just target you. Anyone can disappear if they're in his way. And because Lily, she's innocent. And he's using her as bait. I swallowed. What do you know about him? Simon pulled out a folder, thick with papers, photographs, and scanned documents. Everything, he said. Financials, lawsuits, corporate fraud, blackmail. He's careful, smart, dangerous. But he has patterns, weaknesses, and I've found them. I examined the papers. My hands trembled. Daniel's history was worse than I imagined. Fake identities, offshore accounts, threats, settlements. Every misstep carefully covered up. He's not just a father trying to do right, Simon said. He's a predator disguised as a parent. I felt a mix of fear and relief. At least now I knew I wasn't imagining it. What's the plan? I asked. Simon's eyes met mine, serious. We hit him where it hurts. Evidence. Exposure. The right people in the right places. But it's risky. One wrong move, and he'll know we're onto him. He'll escalate. And Lily, she'll be in danger. I nodded. I'll do whatever it takes. Simon handed me a flash drive. Everything you need. Emails, messages, recordings. But you have to be careful. He knows someone's watching. That's why the call to the pier was anonymous. He can't find us yet, but if he does, he'll act fast. I took a deep breath. The weight of the situation hit me. This wasn't just a legal battle. This was survival. Before leaving, Simon gave me one last warning. Tonight, he'll test you, he said. Expect a message, a threat, maybe even a direct encounter. Don't panic. Stay calm. Don't give him any reason to know what you're planning. I nodded, gripping the flash drive like a lifeline. As I returned to my hotel, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I know you're there. Don't try to hide. Lily is watching. My heart sank. He was already aware. I realized then that nothing I had done so far had slowed him down. He knew I was back. He knew I was gathering evidence. And he was already moving. That night, I barely slept. My mind raced with possibilities, plans, contingencies, what-ifs. I had Simon. I had proof. But the enemy wasn't just Daniel. It was every moment I delayed, every step I hadn't anticipated. And deep down, I understood this was no longer just a battle for custody. This was a war I could lose. And if I lost, I wouldn't just lose Lily. I could lose everything. The next morning, I sat in my hotel room staring at the flash drive. Every detail Simon had given me was a thread, and I had to pull them carefully. One wrong move, and Daniel would know. I spent hours cross-referencing emails, receipts, bank transfers, and photos. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Daniel had been funneling money through fake companies, buying influence in ways that were almost invisible to the law. But Simon's intel revealed a vulnerability. A bank account tied to Lily's school fees, proof that Daniel had manipulated Emily financially, threatened staff, and created a chain of lies. I realized then that the court could be forced to act. I could expose everything and regain leverage, but meant I'd have to step directly into Daniel's trap. That evening, I went to a small cafe near the courthouse. Simon was already there. "They know you're back," he said quietly. "Expect someone to approach you." We barely finished our coffee when a man in a gray hoodie slid into the booth across from me. Daniel. He didn't speak at first. He just stared, calm, smiling. "Good evening," he said finally. "I was wondering when you'd make a move." I swallowed hard. "You need to leave Lily alone." Daniel chuckled. "Leave her alone? I think you misunderstand, my friend. Lily isn't mine. She's a tool. And right now, she's inconvenient." "Stop playing games," I said. "You've threatened her, threatened me, manipulated Emily. It ends tonight." "Ends tonight?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "No, it doesn't. You think I'll just walk away? I've built this carefully. Every document, every lie, every arrangement, it's all under my control. And you're reckless." He leaned closer, whispering, "You don't understand the people I've worked with. People who know how to make someone disappear quietly, permanently." My hands trembled slightly, but I forced myself to stay calm. Do you really think that scares me? He smirked. It should. Simon placed a hand on my shoulder. He's bluffing. He wants to intimidate you. But we have leverage too. We can expose him. Daniel's smile faltered slightly, but only for a moment. Then he leaned back, cool again. Very well. Play your hand. Let's see who survives. He left the cafe, disappearing into the city night. I exhaled, heart racing. That encounter had been a warning, a test, and I had passed, but only just. Simon and I left, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Daniel was already steps ahead. Later that night, I received a call from Emily. "Max, I don't know what to do," she said. Her voice trembled. He's threatening me. Lily, everything. I can't. Listen, I said firmly. We fight. Together. We expose him. But you have to trust me. I want to, she whispered. Edo. But I'm scared. I can't protect Lily by myself. I felt the weight of her fear mirrored by my own. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It wasn't just emotional manipulation. This had become a dangerous game, one where every move could have irreversible consequences. And I understood something chilling. Daniel wouldn't stop, not until he got what he wanted, or until he broke everything in his path, including us. The days that followed were a blur of tension, fear, and meticulous planning. Simon and I worked around the clock, coordinating every detail to expose Daniel without endangering Lily. We mapped out his financial trails, compiled his messages, emails, and recordings, and gathered witnesses. People he'd threatened, employees he'd manipulated, even neighbors who had seen suspicious activity. Emily was terrified, but slowly she began cooperating. Her fear for Lily outweighed her fear of Daniel. She admitted things she had hidden for years. Minor lies, withheld information, even moments when she had hesitated to protect me because she was afraid of him. Each confession was painful but necessary. The night before the court hearing, I sat with Lily. She was still small, still trusting, still unaware of how much danger had circled around her. "Daddy," she asked softly, "will everything be okay?" I held her hands tightly. "Yes, baby. Everything will be okay. I promise." Her eyes searched mine for reassurance. I wished I could shield her from the entire nightmare, but I couldn't. I could only promise her one thing. I wouldn't let anyone take her from me unjustly. The next morning, Simon and I arrived at the courthouse early. Daniel was there, calm, collected, wearing a suit that made him look untouchable. He smirked when he saw me, confident, but I had something he didn't anticipate, the truth laid bare. We presented our evidence, recordings of Daniel manipulating Lily, threatening Emily, and boasting about his plans, financial documents showing illegal activity, emails proving his history of intimidation and fraud. Every witness spoke, neighbors, former employees, even Mrs. Collins, testify about Daniel's manipulations and threats. The courtroom was tense. Daniel's lawyers tried to spin the narrative, calling me unstable, reckless, an unfit father who had abandoned his child. But each lie was met with the proof we had meticulously collected. And then came the moment that changed everything. Lily was called to speak. 8 years old, scared but resolute. She looked at Daniel first, then at me. I love Daddy," she said softly. "He's always been here for me. He's my real dad. You're not." The words echoed through the courtroom like a hammer. Daniel's face turned red. Emily's eyes welled with tears. I felt my chest ache with relief and sorrow all at once. The judge reviewed the evidence carefully. Hours felt like days. Every motion, every argument, every word hung in the air like tension ready to snap. Finally, the verdict. Custody remained with me. Daniel was ordered to stay away from Lily and Emily. Any attempt to contact or manipulate them would result in immediate legal action and criminal charges. His financial misdeeds were referred for investigation. I felt a rush of relief, exhaustion, and disbelief. We had won against someone ruthless, calculated, and dangerous. But the victory was bittersweet. As I left the courthouse, Emily took my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for everything." I shook my head. We did what we had to do. For Lily, that's what matters. Lily ran into my arms, hugging me tightly. I held her like I'd never let go, promising myself I never would. Later, in the quiet of our home, I looked around at the life we had almost lost. Photos of Lily, toys scattered across the floor, Emily cooking dinner. Normalcy. Safety. But I knew this wasn't the end. Dana was still out there. Still dangerous. Still capable of revenge. Yet for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Hope that no matter what came next, we would face it together. That love, truth, and persistence could withstand even the darkest manipulations. And as Lily fell asleep in my arms that night, I whispered to her, "No one can take us away from each other. Not ever." For the first time since this nightmare began, I truly believed it.